Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to SevTech Ages. So, since last episode, it actually hasn't been that long. I'll be honest, I'm really hooked on the Betweenlands. I'm going to be doing some building probably after this episode, but since we found the White Castle, or the White Stronghold, I really couldn't resist starting up another episode. So, anyways, today, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to tackle some Tinker's Constructs. Okay, so I've got some seared bricks right here laid out in the basic Tinker smeltery pattern. I will say this is going to get expanded out by 1 block on each side and expanded forward like 2 blocks. But this is a good starting size for us. And this, of course, isn't going to stay seared bricks on all these slots. I just kind of placed this down as a placeholder because I made up a bunch of grout and stuff. And then in addition, look at this. I didn't even think about this. Faraday actually suggested it to me. Because I was going to wait until I got iron buckets to go get a lot of lava. You know, I was going to go get a little bit of lava with clay buckets. Symarite buckets from Betweenlands. Totally makes sense, right? Because these things only require Symarite, which we only have like 5 or 6 stacks of, and then a little bit of that reed rope. And these can carry lava. So, and it's very, very handy, actually. Okay, so anyways, our seared tank, let's go ahead and grab this. And we're going to put this thing down, like, right here. So put it right in there, and then, I tell you what, actually, let me go ahead and make something that I want to make. I made some clay barrels here, and we're going to go get a bit more lava, because right now I only have the 1 bucket extra lava. And we can easily go get ourselves a bunch of lava, and all we have to do is, we're going to make 8 seared tanks. Because they do retain their inventory when they are broken, as you just saw whenever I moved that seared tank over. And this, for right now, this will make a very good age 2 kind of drum. It only stores 4 buckets, but that's still 4 times what a normal bucket holds. It will be quite useful for us because I'm going to want a lot of lava moving forward, because there's going to be, right now we're going to make 2 of the multi-blocks from Tinker's Constructs. Wrong direction. But then in, you know, the not very distant future, we'll probably have all 3 of them. I just don't feel like I have a lot of need right now for the Tinker's tank. But probably in the next age, we'll be using the Tinker's tank. But I do want the seared furnace and the smeltery. So anyways, we'll just set these things down and let's fill them up. And you will notice that when these are filled, they do stack. So they're going to stack really, really nicely right back into the inventory once they came. So you don't have to worry about these taking up a lot of inventory space, because some drums and liquid storage will not stack like this. They stack very, very well. And by the way, right now I'm on the server with Galahad, Zila Monster, and Faraday. And there we go. There is 8 seared tanks filled with lava. And I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit more. Might as well go ahead and fill all of our buckets back. And then we can use our clay barrel. We actually finally have like a really, really good use for the clay barrel and the clay barrel extension for actually storing mass amounts of liquid. We're going to be storing up lava. Okay, and right now our clay barrel doesn't have anything in it, so what we're going to do, we're going to pull this thing off, pull that off, and pull the faucet off. And we're going to set ourselves up a little area here. We'll just put it setting, actually right here. So clay barrel, our clay barrel extension, and then we'll put our faucet down right there, and then let's get a little bit more of the seared brick, and let's make ourselves a casting channel, or 3 of them, and we got follow my channel please again. And we'll put that right there, and what I want to do is right click that, and then if I was to put, maybe this will work. I actually don't have to stand right there, by the way. I can stand right back here. And then if we were to right-click this, it's going to flow in. It's going to fill our seared tank for us. Now, granted, I could rig up something so it drains from these seared tanks and keeps the clay barrel filled on a right-click, but we don't actually need that. We have buckets now. Let's actually move that over like that. So we've got a bunch of lava. We have quite a bit of lava now. I'm going to tuck away these buckets. I can get rid of the clay buckets now out of there. Okay, so there's 7,000 millibuckets in here, so it's almost filled. Okay, so now that we've got the seared tank taken care of, the next thing I want to take care of is the let's see, we're going to want a... I may actually need to make it more grout. It didn't go as far as I thought it would, but that's fine. Let's get ourselves... Actually, let's get 2 faucets. And then let's get a... Is that how you make the... Yeah, casting basin, and then I want the casting table. This is all, like, pretty straightforward. And standard recipes, really. And I tell you what, instead of... Let's actually grab this. I'm going to bring this up. I actually hate having these down that low. So we'll just bring that up. And oh, does it still do the thing, though, where you can't... Let me try something. Because in 1.7, I remember the seared tank had to be on the same layer as the controller and stuff. And I actually really hate that. And I'm hoping that that was changed, but I don't know for sure. So the smeltery controller is aqua middle gem in the middle, just like that. And we can set that down there. And we got the controlling advancement. Okay, it does count the lava. Awesome. That's what I want to see. And then we can set up our casting basin and casting table. And we're just going to put these setting... Actually, I think right here. There's one other thing that I'm going to have to make, and that is a drain. So we'll put our drain right there, and this setup may change as we get more grout, as we expand it and all that good stuff. Faucet on this side, faucet on that side, and then we'll put our casting basin right there and our casting table right there. Okay, so now we have a full-fledged smeltery. And, oh, give that back. Okay, let me go get some gold, because of course right now we can't make, you know, aluminum brass, because we don't have aluminum. So we're going to have to go with gold. That's fine. I have a bit of gold. I could do with some more, but I found some more gold deposits. They seem fairly common, so I can always get more gold. So that's not a problem. I've actually found more of all the deposits. Yeah, I found more iron, more gold, more lapis, all that good stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and get a stack smelting up. And actually, I'll tell you what, one thing I wouldn't mind doing is making a hopper. Let's do that. So that we can dump a bunch of stuff in there and have it feed into the smeltery controller. Oh, and by the way, last episode, I totally forgot to mention, I've been using it since, like, you guys might hate me. I've been using it since, like, episode, I don't know, 4 or 5, when it was first brought up. And I keep forgetting to mention it. But this right here deposits a nearby chest. If you hold shift, you can merge to nearby chests. And then it kind of works like, I don't know, like a drawer controller. You can click that and you can see the wood just got pulled out of my inventory and it went in here because there was other dark oak in this chest. I know I used it last episode and it just made me think of it, because normally I sort my inventory off camera most of the time, or I try to. And I realized I don't think I went over that in this series so far, so don't hate me. Oh, is the hopper, is it iron plates? I think it is. Yeah, and it's also a bronze gear. Well, I'll tell you what then, instead of that, that's fine. I mean, a hopper, I could make it, but there's not really, if I just put a chest on there, it's cheaper. So, why bother, I guess. So there we go. And we can just drop items into this chest, and they're going to get sent down into the smeltery. So we can put things in there to smelt up and then go away and they'll smelt up for us. Okay, so we've got 2 blocks of gold in here. And so then what I want to do is, let's see, first up I want to make a pattern chest. And you know, it's funny, the last episode has not come out yet. I'm actually recording this on the same night that I recorded the last episode. And I got to looking, whenever I was editing the footage and stuff, I was just sitting there thinking to myself, like, man, like, I know whenever you guys are watching it, you're probably like, the last episode, you're probably like screaming at the camera, like, break the mud or something, like, switch weapons, like, escape. Whenever I was like fighting mummies. But, you know, the Betweenlands does a really good job about when you're in that situation. By the way, we're going to make some like stone sword blade and stuff like that. We're going to make these and drop them into our casting table and pour gold all over them to make ourselves a mold. But when I was watching that, I was like, man, like, you guys are probably like screaming at me. But Betweenlands does a very, very good job about kind of filling you with fear. Like when those peat mummies and stuff are coming, I'm just kind of like backing away like, no, don't do it. Get away from me. And just hoping they go away. So, alright, let's make ourselves an ingot cast too, because that's going to be super important. And then we also need to make a bucket cast, so we can make iron buckets. That's also going to be fairly important. And I believe we can just use a clay bucket for this, because there is a bucket cast on here. And we've still got a ton of gold. Look at all that gold. And there we go. And we got a bucket filled with gold. That's not what I wanted to do, actually. Wait a second. Yeah, bucket cast. Oh, we need a stone bucket. Will not work as a bucket, but good to cast one. I'll tell you what. I've got a clay barrel right here. And we'll just set this. I don't want to waste the gold if I can avoid it. So if we just put the clay barrel right up there and dump our gold into there, and then we can put down our faucet and our casting channel. Just dump that in there. And it's going to go back into the smeltery. Okay, so the stone bucket. How is this thing? I'm assuming it's just stone. Ooh, it's cobblestone. I was expecting smooth stone. And there we go. We'll dump that over our bucket. And this thing is done, so I'll pull all this stuff up. And there's our bucket cast. I'm going to go ahead and I'll put that back for just a second. And let me pop over here. And let me go get some iron ore. Now, I was actually looking at the stuff of the sword. And you know what the best thing that may be available to us? And I'm not 100% sure if it is. And I'm probably going to go check it out, which may not be the best idea that I've ever had. But I think we could do it with the lurker skin armor. Which, by the way, the lurker skin armor, I did upgrade this. You notice I have a bunch of metal gems. I farmed some of those between episodes. These all now have green gems on them. All the lurker armor does. So I've got plenty of gems, and they're so easy to get at this point that I'm just kind of like, let's throw gems on everything. Well, anyways, we've got some iron. Let's go ahead, dump that into a bucket cast, and we'll get our very first iron bucket. And there we go. Yay! They be stealing my bucket achievement. And I'll just tuck that away because I have Simerite buckets, so it's not quite as vital. We'll probably just use those for crafting. Is honestly what we'll probably end up using them for. Okay, now one thing that I would like to go see about. A while back, we found those guardian temples, right? This may not be my best idea ever. I'll go ahead and say this might be a horrible idea. But we're going to go see if we can find ourselves... Because honestly, I feel like if we have that lurker skin armor, we could take a guardian. I should think so. And if we could, and we could get some prismarine, we could make a better sword than iron level. So, I've went around, because normally Quark adds guardians, like, just in the ocean. But I haven't seen any as of yet. I did swim around a little bit between episodes, and I wasn't able to find any. But I haven't actually went to a guardian temple. So we're going to swim out there and check that out. There are sharks everywhere, by the way. That's one reason I feel like this might not be the best idea, but I don't think the sharks will be able to keep up with us. I could have brought a boat out instead of swimming this all. But, by the way, coming up out of the water, longsword is the best. Because it's really difficult. Somebody just smacked me. But it's actually fairly difficult to get out of the water sometimes, so the longsword does help with that quite a bit. Yeah, see, there's sharks after me, that's for sure. Okay, straight north from our current location is our guardian temple, like the closest one that we marked. So I'm really hoping, because if we can get prismarine, we can make a prismarine sword, which is fairly powerful. I do need to eat. I need to stock up on food too. But in all honesty, to get the first abyssal craft dimension opened up, that's going to require prismarine as well. So regardless, I would like to get some prismarine, even if we're not using it for a weapon. So I'm hoping that around this area we'll be able to find some, maybe. Yep, there we go. What do you know? By the way, if you're wearing this lurker armor, another nice thing is if you, like, need to eat or something, like, change your inventory, you're not going to sink. You're going to stay right up near the water. So, anyways, I'm going to farm on these for a little bit. I would like to get at least around 20 prismarine shards, ideally. And then I'll be back once I farm a bit of this up. Because we're going to need this for, like I said, the sword, but then also to make our key. We need Oblivion Catalyst, which requires prismarine. We're also going to have to get transformation powder from the Twilight Forest. But, okay, it's been a little while. I got 10 prismarine shards. I had to go back. I died. I keep dying. I'm hoping that's not a trend this episode, because we've got some stuff to do. But basically the reason I died was I killed myself, more or less. I was eating that. I ran out of food, because I went out there with, like, pretty much no food. And then I was eating that raw shark meat, and that gives you a really bad poison that lasts for a while. So just a heads up, whatever you do, don't eat raw shark meat. It's not good stuff. Anyways, we've got our prismarine shards, and I believe actually our sword blade, we can just make this in here. I don't actually need the cast. Yeah. Whoa. That's a lot more prismarine than I was expecting. Oh, that only gives me 2 for repairs. I'll have to go back out there before too long. That's fine. That's okay. Before I do this, let me repair this. And that way we should get it in its pristine state. Now this thing has a bit more durability. It was 301, now it's 567. And you can see Jagged moves like Jagged. Every point of durability lost increases damage. And Aqua Dynamic, the tool is unhindered by water and loves rainy evenings. So, very, very good. And I'm probably going to leave the hilt. I was originally thinking your tool's damage is increased. That's going to put the attack at 10.02. Which is pretty good. Now, one other thing I would like to make. I know I didn't... Originally, I was planning on making it out of iron. But then I got to looking and I was like, well, I could probably pull off prismarine. And sure enough, we did. Not as smoothly as I'd hoped, but we did pull it off. And that's a lot better of a tool, in truth. So another thing I would like to get is iron. I would like to get an iron tool rod. And let me go ahead. I'm trying to empty some of the smeltery out because you can see it's like packed full, but this is like the last bit of it that's running right now. This tool rod, I want to apply this to our pick. I do believe, because that's going to give it magnetic. Hitting things attracts nearby things. It also increases the durability slightly. Not by a ton, but that's okay. By the way, I did hit accustomed with our longsword. That's one of the main reasons I was using the longsword through the through the Betweenlands, was simply due to the fact that I would like to level it, at least when we can. I use it a little bit more than I should have, but let's go ahead and get a pick cast. Just dump this into here, because I also wouldn't mind having an iron pick. And of course that's so that we have a better mining level. And we won't have to keep changing over tools as often to mine certain things. Iron definitely helps. And it's fairly easy to repair. That's actually... Man, I figured it would be a lot higher durability, but it's still like pitiful durability, but that's fine. I mean, I guess it's on par with like iron pick. Okay, and then I'll probably end up maybe upgrading these, but the nice thing about these is I can repair them with cobble, which I tend to always have on me. Also, apple pies. That is our new food that is replacing the melon pies. They take a little bit more effort to make, mainly because you have to crack the eggs. And we are going to have to start farming apples at some point, but right now we're good on apples. So it's just flour, sugar, apples, and raw egg. But luckily this food lasts for a while, and I should be able to get my nutrition buffs back up. I keep dying and I keep losing them. I'm staying alive long enough to like have a decent amount of nutrition, like fairly okay, but it's not as great as it was before all of our death streak. But now we've got plenty of hearty stew and apple pie to bite us over. Okay, so now that we've got that taken care of, the smeltery is up and running, the pickaxe is upgraded, the sword is upgraded. The sword does a lot of damage now. Like, honestly, I was thinking the sentient sword would beat out our TC sword, but 10.02 damage with increasing damage for each durability loss, that's pretty powerful for this age, I think. Prismarine's not the easiest thing, but honestly, next time I go out there, I'm going to take some blocks. I'm going to build like a platform so that I can get out of the water and I can, you know, heal and rest for a second, stuff like that. That would definitely come in handy. And we may even set up a guardian farm. I don't know for sure. But anyways, back to the beauty that is the Betweenlands. By the way, I do have some sludge jello made up here. Let me grab our balls of sap, and we can upgrade these and make sap jello, which restores a bit of our decay. I'm still going to keep some sap on me because it's nice, but that's good in a bind, plus it restores hunger and stuff as well. So, over in the animator, one of the item scrolls I got, a voodoo doll. That is a new item that we have not talked about. It's actually really cool because what it does, and I still have... Oh yeah, I was going to make the seared furnace. We may still do that this episode. We'll see where we get to. Okay. We'll see where we get to, because I've actually got a lot that I want to cover. The voodoo doll, though, what you can do with this thing is you can actually right-click it, and you notice it's not doing anything right now. If mobs are nearby, it will damage all nearby mobs for I don't know how much damage. It's a decent little amount of damage, and it'll do durability to it, to the voodoo doll. But there's no way to really repair this thing except I imagine you could actually probably use mending on it. So yeah, you could probably do that, but you can't, you can't repair it in the animator or anything like that. Oh, it's out of sulfur. Okay, so anyways, today I would like to start getting into a little bit of the, well, actually, before we get into a little bit of the alchemy, we're not going to get extremely into alchemy today, but just touch on it, just start touching on it, because I'm going to want to, between episodes, I'm probably going to do a bit of research. I'll explain it here in a minute. But anyways, right here, I want to make these rubber boots. These require rubber balls, which is weedwood buckets with rubber in them. Okay, now the way these work, you have to make a tree tap. And I figure this is something we definitely want to go over. So the weedwood bucket can be used as a rubber tree tap by right-clicking on a rubber tree. Okay, so weedwood planks and a little bit of that reed rope. And let's go ahead and make like 8 of these things, I think. Let's see, I don't have a rubber tree, do I? I don't think so. We're going to have to go find one, but that's fine. They really don't take very long to fill up, in truth. So there we go, 8 weedwood buckets. And then what did this make? 5 valonite shards. Okay. Let's merge it. Actually, it's those right there. These really thin looking trees. Okay, right here, these rubber tree logs, what we can do is we can just right click these onto the tree. You can put them on all the cardinal directions, if you so desire, and then we'll put like another bunch of them. You can actually put them right on top of the others, like that. But if you notice, if you look down in there, it's actually pouring, I don't really have any blocks on me, do I? Okay, if you look right in there, it's actually pouring rubber into this bucket. Basically, it's tapping the tree. You can see the little nozzle coming out. It's filling these buckets up with rubber. And I'm actually going to go ahead and mark right here. And we'll say rubber tree. Even though I'm probably... I'll tell you what. There's actually some, like, yeah, right over there. Let me go get a sapling. And we'll plant one right over near our base. And I do apologize about the darkness. Like, there's not a whole lot I can actually do about that. And we got, what, 5 saplings. That'll be plenty. They tend to... Oh, there's more right here. They tend to drop a lot of saplings. 1 tree is usually all that you're going to need. And these are steadily filling up the buckets. They do take a little while. So we'll let that run for a minute. And we'll just pop over here. And we're going to set up a few rubber trees and let these things grow. We'll put one right there. And really, that's all I need is one of them. I don't need a bunch of these. But we'll plant a few more. I don't know, like that. Whatever. Okay, now while that rubber is filling up, which yeah, that should be close enough. It should still be filling those buckets while we're in here. And what did we get from this? Another voodoo doll. I will take it. And then let's go ahead and pop another life crystal into this. Bear in mind that we can repair these, but I've got so many of them that it's fine. And I've got 6 white's hearts at the moment. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, if we want to get into alchemy, is, well, actually, first thing I want to make is the herb lore book. Okay, so it's 6 lurker skin and 3 of this Armat paper. And then you can turn herb lore books into lots of herb lore books. So anyways, this Armat paper is dry bark. Okay, so for our Armat paper, I was thinking it was this rotten bark. This is the stuff that's filled with termites. It's this right here, hollow logs. We can break this stuff. And you can see we get some dry bark from that. This stuff's pretty common in these, like, I don't remember the name of this biome, but in this place. And so then we can take that and make our Armat paper. And then we just need our lurker skins. Which, once again, another nice thing about farming those lurkers. And there we go. There's our herb lore book. And we got the bookworms advancement. And you can see right here we have list of aspects, list of ingredients, aspect info. There's a lot to this, by the way, so just a heads up. Then we have ingredient info. Okay, so this book is important because we're going to be jotting down our aspects, and as we learn about items and what they contain, we're going to be jotting them into this book. Now, if I recall, you can't actually use a wiki for this information because this is dependent on your world, and it changes depending on the world as far as the aspects that make up, you know, any given item. Okay. So what we're going to do next is, there's one other thing that we're going to want, and that is a net. And it's this one right here from the Betweenlands, so just weed wood and reed rope. And like I said, there's a lot to this, and we are just going to scratch the very basics today, basically because we're going to be making the rubber boots, and I want to upgrade those. It's going to be very, very basic, and then we'll get into a more advanced alchemy next episode. So we got the net, and then we're also going to want to get ourselves a cage. This right here, the gecko cage. So it's just Cymerite, weedwood planks, reed rope, not a problem. And there we go, our gecko cage. Okay, now our gecko cage, we're just going to put this down like right here. Okay, this is going to house our gecko. And then, if you recall, we ran into geckos before, we encountered them. They're little orange lizards. And we have to go out and find ourselves some. But let's take a quick look over here. Oh, you know what? I don't think I was close enough for those rubber trees. I didn't realize they were way, way out here. They might be filled. We'll see. Yeah, actually, it looks like they're still pouring, but they're just about filled. Whenever they stop pouring, that means the bucket's filled. And you'll kind of be able to tell when the bucket fills up. The best thing is whenever you find them and they're trapped in water. That's one thing. The Betweenlands, filled with water. But most of the mobs, unless they're like water-based mobs, if you get them in the water, they're so easy to kill. Or in the case of the geckos, to capture. I thought that was a gecko for a second. By the way, with this net, you can also capture the fireflies you see flying around ever so often. You... Stop it! Oh my gosh. Yeah, see, they hide in these leaves. Eventually, he's going to run out of places to go. Oh, there we go. There we go. Did I get him? Yeah. Okay, I got both of them. I think you can actually hit the weedwood bushes as they jump in to capture them. I'm not 100% sure. And I guess since he's right here, let's capture him too. Okay. And they just go into your inventory. Let me pop over here and see if our rubber is done now. Yep, some of these are. And then what we can do is, with an empty hand, right? Oh no, we're supposed to break it? Maybe so. Yeah, we're supposed to break it. You can see we get rubber weedwood buckets. And to be honest, the reason I didn't make these boots sooner was because I was actually thinking, and I was thinking very incorrectly, but I was thinking that the boots only worked on the mud if they were upgraded boots. But that's not the case. There's a firefly. I want to capture him. In fact, there we go. And we got ourselves a firefly. And then what we can do is this gecko here. Well, actually, let me get this rubber smelting up. This stuff is kind of a pain because it doesn't It doesn't stack together. There we go. Okay, all the rubber is smelting up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our gecko and we're just going to right-click him into our cage. So you can see inside of that little cage, we've got our little gecko. And what the purpose he serves is what's called gecko testing. Okay? When it comes to alchemy, we don't want to eat these ingredients. We don't know, you know, when we're testing them, we don't know what's in them. So we need to use the gecko to test stuff for us. And the mortar and pestle and the gecko are like your best friends when it comes to seeing what is in certain items. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's take a green middle gem, let's take a blue one, let's take a red one, and we can take and put these into here. And you can put all kinds of stuff, actually. If you look up ground, you could see there's ground marshmallows, milkweed, blue iris, copper, pretty much like every plant and like a ton of the minerals and stuff like that, you can grind up. Okay, maybe honestly starting with middle gems may not be the best bet. Okay, black hat mushrooms. These are one thing that can be, and actually I think moss can be ground up. So let's grab a bit of this. By the way, I did pack 2 mire snails into the overworld, and we have them inside of our, oh no, moss cannot be done. Huh. But you can compost it, which we'll get into that stuff when we get into the farming. Which the farming, it's not as important in this pack. I still want to cover it. But it's not as important because of the fact that we can bring food over. You know, that stuff's not banned in this pack like it normally is. Okay, so after all of that, all we have is black hat mushrooms. Okay, so we'll just pop these black hat mushrooms into there and then go ahead and get this thing running. Okay, so our ground black hat mushroom, what we can do is we can take this and we can right click and feed it to our gecko. And we got the screw PETA advancement, and you can see the gecko's muscles twitching uncontrollably. Okay, now what we're going to do then, if you take a look inside of our herb lore book, you can see, and by the way, this right here tells you like the different brews and stuff like that that you can make and what they do. I mean, there's a ton of different brews and potions, and there's all different kinds of stuff. We'll be getting into those. But if you click on ingredient info, and you either hit your scroll wheel up or hit this little arrow here, you can see ground black hat mushrooms. Okay, black hat mushrooms can be found scattered about everywhere in the swamplands biomes. This item has the following aspects. Aswin, which is muscle, and you can open the guidebook entry if you click on it. And if you click on it, it says the aspect that has effect on the muscles. It's a tier 1 aspect. It's found in black hat mushroom. That's the only ingredient that we found that has this aspect in it. And it's used in these brews. Okay, but there's like elixir of weakness, nimble feet, lumbering, tough skin, poisoning, swift arm, slug arm, spider breed, basilisk drought. Anyways, we can actually click right here and we can go through and find the elixirs. And so say we wanted to look at the basilisk drought, you can see that it takes Aswin, Fergalez, Dionys, I'm probably pronouncing these all sorts of wrong, but Yenrin and Yunangaz. But it says it petrifies the motor cortex of the brain, causing one to be frozen in place. A combination of these aspects is required to make this drought. The more Aswin that's used, the stronger the drought's effects. The more Yenrin is used, the longer the drought lasts. Leaving out Byaris will reveal the true nature of the drought, turning it into the spider breed drought, which allows one to climb on obstacles. And actually, if you look right here, these are anti-infusions. These are negative effects. You don't want these. These are all like bad things. But if you read these, it tells you, for example, adding Byaris will corrupt the nature of the drought, turning it into the drought of Sagittarius, which allows one to see the path of an arrow fired from a bow. But the weak bow drought reduces your archery skill, greatly limiting one's bow's shooting range. So you see there's like negative brews. We'll get into that more later. Not really any reason to cover it right this second. But anyways, we know now that black hat mushrooms contain Aswin. Okay, now I didn't notice. It will generally pop up and it's going to say if it has additional aspects in it, which chances are it's not just going to have one aspect in it. So now if we take this, we right click, the gecko is still recovering from the last experiment. The gecko is chewing furiously on its tail and looks around as if possessed. And actually, I forgot to mention this, you can see the gecko is actually, you can see he's going through what we just read. He's changed color and he's trying to bite his tail. So, But I don't know, that should have told us more about the black hat mushroom. Yeah, you can see that it contains Bierus as well. Now let's go ahead, let's get a little bit more of that black hat mushroom ground up. Okay, now if I try to feed it black hat mushroom, you can see it says this item doesn't seem to have any aspects. That means black hat mushroom, we found everything that can be found from black hat mushroom. So what we're going to do is we are going to, let's craft a little chest here, and this is going to be for our alchemy stuff as we progress on. Which I'm going to have to start expanding out of here. But we'll put that in there. We found all the aspects related to black hat mushrooms. We don't need them stored in here anymore. And then there's also like flathead mushrooms. So let's go ahead and let me get these ran. And by the way, our rubber is done. Let me grab that stuff. There is our rubber boots. And what these do is when you're in the swamp, normally, let's see, let's find something that slows us down, for example. Okay, for example, mud. Mud is really bad, right? But if we put on our rubber boots, look at that. So if I had been wearing those when we went to that that biome that had the swamp mummies, we could have moved at normal speed. And they do have a little bit of armor. They have 1 armor. But you can actually upgrade these, and this is one reason I wanted to start messing with the alchemy stuff, is because you can upgrade these to boots of the marsh runner. Which are basically rubber boots on crack. This is what they are. So, but to do this, we're going to need a bottle with some bioganaz in it. I'm probably pronouncing this all sorts of wrong, but I'll go ahead and warn you. But let's go ahead and feed our ground flathead mushroom to the gecko. The gecko's scales seem to be glowing slightly. Okay. And then if we open up our herb lore book, and by the way, that right there where it says the gecko's scales seem to be glowing brightly, that's going to tell us basically what's happening to the gecko. And that's how we deduce what's inside of these materials. So you can see that it has Ordanus in it, which is enhance. Alright, but what we're after right now is Bioganaz. The aspect that correlates to the element of water. It's a tier 2 aspect. Okay. Let's go ahead and feed it. You've never seen a healthier gecko. It's bursting with energy. And that's Yelwin, which is health. And it might actually be worth it for us to make maybe a couple more of these gecko cages. Let me actually craft up like 2 more of them. We have 3 geckos, so we might as well. And we'll just stack these geckos up in here. And let's go ahead and grab our geckos. Drop them into there. Okay, ground flathead mushroom we are now done with. There's nothing else that can be discovered from our ground flathead mushroom. Which means we're going to have to find more things to feed it. I believe we can use blue cap mushrooms. The gecko is drooling, sweating, and peeing around its cage. And then this one... oh, it doesn't have any more aspects. So this one only has that one aspect in it. If we take a look at our herb lore book... that's Bioganaz, which is water. That's awesome. That's the one that we were actually after. But basically we're going to have to go through and we're going to have to scan lots of different items, all these different ground items. And there's, there's quite a bit of them. You can actually open up, of course, if you type in ground into any, or JEI, it's going to tell you all the different ground stuff, right? But then you can also go into list of ingredients right here, and you can see all the stuff right here that can be checked. Okay, so like for example, angler teeth, ground algae, all that stuff. But you can see stuff that you've actually scanned is kind of grayed a little bit. So ground flathead mushrooms, ground bulb capped. So we know that we've found those things. And as long as we, research everything out of them, then we know that ingredient is done. Okay, the episode ended up being fairly long. So I ended up splitting it. I'm going to split it into 2 parts. So the next part will just continue on, right from where we left off. And we'll continue working in towards alchemy. And then we are going to take on the White Fortress. So I do apologize. I ended up recording it. And I was just kind of like going through the Betweenlands and going at it. And then it was like, oh, wait a second. It's a little bit long. So anyways, next episode we'll just continue on. And we're going to take our first boss. You can actually see I have 3 gems spinning around me. and there's some nifty alchemy stuff behind me and everything, so we'll get into that. And I've actually started working on our overworld Betweenlands area, which is super exciting. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already to stay updated with when new videos come out. And I do apologize for it being split in the middle like this, but I hope you guys join me for part 2 of this, and I'll see you guys there.